Alright guys, lately a lot of good video games have been coming out. God of War Ragnarok, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Dead Space Remake, Jedi Survivor, which I'm playing right now, and countless others. As I was playing Jedi Survivor the other day, I for some reason started thinking to myself about the Batman Arkham franchise. And I was thinking about how they could potentially revive the world, because right now it kind of feels dead, even with the eventual release of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. DC needs a win somewhere, and I know that in the past, and a lot of people would agree with this, DC has dominated Marvel when it comes to video games and animation, and I still think they do today. But Marvel has flat out curb stomped DC in the movie department when it comes to connected storytelling. It would be nice if DC could keep its dominance somewhere, and that would be the video game department at the very least right now. DC has some games in the works right now, and even some games released. We have Gotham Knights, but I mean, come on here, if you want to secure dominance in the video game world, the last thing you should do is make an Avengers 2.0 game with Batman characters. We have an apparent Wonder Woman game on the way that we really have not heard many details about. And we of course have Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which we all know has been very controversial even before they showed the gameplay trailer. All the gameplay trailer did was make a lot of us even more uncertain about that game's future. A company who absolutely mastered superhero gaming and perfected the Batman role is making a Suicide Squad game that looks the way it does. It's not helping their case. The internet connection required at all times is certainly something people don't want to hear. I do believe they're fixing that, but it's not a good sign that we had it in the first place. The fact that it's a live service game, not every game needs to be like this. You guys dominated in story mode games. Why does everything need to be multiplayer and microtransactional? Not sure if that's a word, but if it's not, I am now coining it. When I look at Rocksteady, when I look at the Batman games, even the Batman game that wasn't fully by them, Arkham Origins, I just think to myself the saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think that's completely accurate to the Arkham franchise. You know, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League might have elements of fun. There might be a huge group of people who love it. There's probably going to be a huge group of people who hate it. And then there's going to be a huge group of people who just feel, I don't think the game is going to sell all that well. I think there is way too much going on behind the scenes with this game's production and the company that's going to keep this game from selling the way they want it to sell. And also the fact that it's not Batman marketed, it's not Batman centric, that will hurt their numbers. Not saying that this needs to be Batman, but there is another character that would have been able to get your numbers up. Of all studios who can make really good superhero games, knew how to perfect Batman, don't you think they would have known how to perfect Superman and how to make a proper Superman game? That's your next game. That's what you should have done to continue the world that the Batman Arkham franchise opened up. We have had 4 Batman games, and I don't think it needs to stop there. But this is their opportunity to do what's happening in film today. Make your Batman games and then start expanding to other DC characters and giving them their own games. You do this enough and you ramp it up to a Justice League game. And you don't make the gameplay like a Gotham Knights or even like this Suicide Squad game. You want to make these characters feel like their own type of play style. Batman is very unique in how he plays. You want to make games for each individual character so we can get used to how they play. So what I would do if I was at Rocksteady, if I was someone in charge, I would have Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League release next year. Just get that game out. It's near completion. Have people buy it. Find out what the game's all about. I still have no doubt in my mind that the story mode is going to be really good because outside of gameplay wise, I think they have great storytellers over there. But what I would do is maybe 4-5 months after that game releases, I would announce, hey guys, we are coming out with another Batman game, and it takes place after Arkham Knight and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And what the game is about is it covers the time period of Batman after Arkham Knight, where he disappeared to, what he did, how he came out of the shadows to be Batman again, and then we all know the whole brainwashing situation in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and what Gotham City looks like now, maybe 5 to 8 years after the events of Arkham Knight. So now you don't just get a Batman game with a Bruce Wayne who is a little bit different from where we saw him in his previous 4 games, but you're now getting a Batman game where we have been introduced to the Bat family in the past, but we've also been introduced to the Justice League. So maybe in this Batman game, there are more ties and connections to Justice League characters because clearly Rocksteady should be ramping up towards a Justice League game. The reason why I would do another Batman game is because a lot of people have asked for it. There was even artwork shown of a Batman game they were going to do that took place, 15 years after Arkham Knight, and you were going to be playing as Damian Wayne Batman. This way now you can keep it Bruce Wayne centric. But also, most importantly, I feel like another Batman game will keep the company and will keep this franchise and this world on stable ground. It will make people feel like, oh, okay, back to the roots, while also experiencing new things they can give us in the Batman character and the Batman games. While they work on his next game, maybe a couple of months before the game's initial release, Rocksteady would come out firing again and say, hey, in anticipation for this game's release in the next couple months or whatever this scenario is, I would then announce a Superman game. A game that was rumored from years ago, a game whose menu screen was even screenshotted and put up online. I would finally branch out and give everybody DC's Golden Boy. And this would, of course, be connected to the Arkham world. This is all working towards something. This would be Rocksteady's chance to perfect the Superman character and gameplay the way they perfected Batman. I know Superman can be a little bit harder because he can do things that would kind of just make his character a little too overpowered, but I think they would need to make his character wide scale. Whereas with Batman, it's all about Gotham, or it's all about pieces of the city. With Superman, you should be able to go to different planets. I'm just spitballing ideas here. Or maybe even Earth as a whole. I don't know. This would be a great opportunity to actually give us important DC characters their own video games. And Superman's a character we haven't been able to ever get a good game out of. Rocksteady has honestly already secured a certain amount of dominance in the superhero gaming community after what they've been able to do with Batman. Could you imagine the pedestal we would put them on if they were capable of mastering Superman? Now, Wonder Woman is where it gets a little bit tricky because the game of hers that is currently in production is made by Warner Brothers and Monolith. And Monolith, if you guys don't know, made the Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, and Shadow of War games, actually 2 of my favorite games of all time. And it plays very, very similar to the Batman games. Its biggest difference is it has a nemesis system, which is one of the coolest systems ever created in video game franchise. Now, when you watch that teaser trailer for Wonder Woman and then you watch the trailer for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and you look at Wonder Woman there, two completely different designs. I don't think that Monolith's Wonder Woman game is going to have any connection to the Arkham world. Then again, they've been in production for a long time, and there's been so little we know about that Wonder Woman game. There is a possibility that somewhere in between the lines, something we haven't heard, maybe they could tie this game in. They could have changed the design of how Wonder Woman looks for her own game, and this is her own solo game that maybe takes place before Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. That is probably 99% of what's not going to happen. I'm just spitballing an idea. Let's hypothetically say they've had discussions with one another and now Monolith is tying Wonder Woman into the Arkham world. Well, there you go. You don't need to worry about that. Now you have a game from a very efficient company in Monolith making a Wonder Woman game. A woman who uses a sword and a shield being made by a company who is popular for making a Lord of the Rings game of a guy who uses a sword. So, I mean, you're in good hands there. But now, let's just say the most obvious outcome, that Wonder Woman game has nothing to do with their Wonder Woman or the Arkham universe in general. What you would do now is you wouldn't say, hey, let's make our own Wonder Woman game. I think where you would go with it is you would do someone like Green Lantern or Flash. And both of these games could be super unique in their own way, because with the Flash, you could be entering a very similar situation like Superman, making a Flash game, a good Flash game that we've never gotten before. And what type of unique gameplay and powers we would be able to utilize with our controller in a game like that. Imagine within the span of 3 or 4 years, Rocksteady found a way to perfect Superman and the Flash for their own video games. My God, they might go down as one of the best video game companies of all time. Green Lantern would also be very interesting because that would be our key into the universe. We would be able to maybe go to different pieces of the galaxy or maybe different galaxies, different planets, discover new aliens. He would be the intense sci-fi answer to the rest of these DC characters. Now, after all this, after you've introduced the idea of the Justice League with Suicide Squad, after you've hit stable ground again with another Batman game, and after you've mastered some of these other DC characters and actually gave them really good games, now you can hit us with a Justice League game. Instead of trying to do what so many companies try to do nowadays, don't follow the route of Gotham Knights, don't follow the route of Avengers. Just make a Justice League game the way you've made the Batman games, and depending on which character you want to use, the gameplay changes to how that character plays. In Arkham Knight, the way you could do missions with Batman and Catwoman or Batman and Nightwing, you can still use that same efficient model with Batman and Superman or Green Lantern and Wonder Woman. Make it single player, focus on the story, make it open world. If you can find a way to make it multiplayer without ruining the concept and the structure of what you're good at, which is the Arkham games, go ahead, do it. But if not, just focus on what works for you. Every single mission, you could choose whatever Justice League character you wanted to go as, and some missions you would be going out alone, some you'd be going together as partners, some you'd be going together as a full team. Because there's going to be big maps and open world in a Justice League game, everyone has their own traversal. Batman's got the Batmobile, half of them can fly, fly, Flash can run super fast. Depending on who you take during certain missions, the mission concept might look different. There might be harder enemy variants for whoever you use. There will be different dialogue for the character and for whoever you're talking to in certain missions. Maybe even add in a little bit of a role-playing aspect to this game, depending on how often you use Batman. Maybe the end of the game turns out and looks a little bit different. Maybe if you use Superman more, the end of the game turns out and looks a little bit different. Maybe it all depends on what villains you fight, depending on who you use the most. You'll fight more Batman-centric villains if you use him the most, or Green Lantern-centric villains if you use them the most. There are so many things you can do to really master this concept, master the storyline, and to really secure your dominance in the world of gaming, because I know right now you might be saying Marvel only has Spider-Man, but guess what? Spider-Man has been a damn good franchise so far. It's only gonna get better, and to be honest with you, Spider-Man is really all they need to secure a certain level of dominance, the way Batman is the same for DC. But now, Marvel has Midnight Suns, which I think a lot of people like. We're getting a Wolverine game. There's an Iron Man game on the way. They're coming out. So I think DC needs to do the same, and I really think this might be the perfect way to do it. In a world where entertainment is rampant, movies, video games, TV shows, books, comic books, you can get anything you want at the snap of your fingers. And in a world where everything loves to be a connected universe, especially superheroes, everyone wants a connected story in media outside of comic books. This would be a perfect opportunity for Rocksteady to realize, okay, we're making a mistake with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Even though it might not be the worst game in the world, we could have done better, and I think this is a route we should go. Back to Batman, up to Superman, and so on until you get to a proper Justice League game made by a company who would know how to do it. But anyways, everyone, that's just my opinion. Those are some of my thoughts. That's what I've been thinking about of recently, and I would love to see this franchise get back on track and for us to experience new stories with what we know and moving into something fresh with a Justice League game, which we've never really gotten properly before. Let me know in the comments below what you think of all this and maybe what you would do. But that's it for this one, everyone. So until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.